Evening all, welcome to the Advent Day number 3, the 3rd of December. So today we have something that's, I guess a lot of you are both familiar with. If you've played this game, then you're obviously going to be quite pleased with it. If you haven't, it's well worth a look, but I would start at the beginning. It's Dead Space 3! This is a game, again, I guess I'm coming across as a bit of a computer space nerd, aren't I? I mean, I am, obviously, but Dead Space to me was one of the games that I think I knew nothing about when I bought it. I don't even know why I bought it. I think it was just there on the shelf and that was it. And I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a try. And it just blew my mind. And even then, Dead Space 1 was the most kind of weird, moot game ever in the world because you know the lead guy never said anything, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you the first kind of, I guess, 20 minutes to Dead Space 3. Now, I've edited this a little bit and I will shut up when the major dialogue comes on. I'm talking over this guy because he's obviously just, talking in saying he can't make contact with somebody. So no big deal. But with the major talky bits, I will shut my gob for that moment. So let's talk about Dead Space. Dead Space is one of these series of games that every time it comes out, it's polished more and more. And I think it's well worth looking at, only because, again, the story is very good. I know it's an EA game, and for a lot of you, that you literally would rather French kiss a skunk. But I do get that, that this is probably one of those games that I think is not bad. I think, the fact it's an EA game should not put you off this. And Dead Space 1, 2, and 3 are obviously a good trilogy of games. And I think if you are going to play them, then start at the beginning. Dead Space 1 was definitive in being quite a scary game, and there was definitely something quite terrifying about it, so much so that it mixed a very unusual mix. In fact, it's probably one of the only few games that has mixed horror and sci-fi to the success of both. A lot of the time you find horror and sci-fi being mixed in gaming not very well. So Aliens, Colonial Marines springs to mind. I think a lot of the time horror is not done very well. I think the reality of Dead Space is that it is quite a scary game. The first one particularly, I think as they've got more and more sophisticated, I think they're less terrifying as they go. I think maybe it's because the simplicity of the first one, in that you were on a spaceship. It was called a planet cracker, and all it did is it latched onto the parts of the planet and then would literally crack the crust of the planet clean so it could mine it in orbit. Beautiful idea, fantastic bit of sci-fi. And it kind of went down from there because the story behind it is all to do with a discovery on Earth of an alien beacon. And this alien beacon has this strange side effect to animate dead flesh, and so when people die, they come back as what they call necromorphs, and that's pretty much what we're seeing here. And from that point forward, that's pretty much the majority of the story that you need to know. Probably one more thing. A religion is formed around this this kind of artifact. And again, the humankind kind of is its own worst enemy because they then start to kind of propagate and celebrate this evil, crazy bit of technology. So that's the subtext. I won't spoil it anymore if you don't know anything about it, and if you do, then you probably know a lot more than I. But the basis of Dead Space was always a very good kind of third-person, run, gun, and shoot. So again, I know a lot of games do this, but I think Dead Space has always done it quite well because a lot of the action is actually melee based towards you. So you're not. I mean, again, it was quite odd. I think in Dead Space 2. When all of a sudden you come across somebody shooting you back at you. It was quite bizarre in a way, whereas the majority of the game is actually like this. You're kind of killing people who are trying to melee you. Now, Dead Space 1 was set aboard this single ship, and the clever hook of that game was it was all about Isaac trying to find his, and you play Isaac. I want to say Isaac Hayes, but I always get that wrong. Isaac Clarke. You are not playing Isaac Clarke currently. This is some other dude, but it's just worth mentioning that. But Isaac was always the main protagonist, and he's kind of the unlikely hero because he's just an engineer, literally a space engineer. Nice segue into yesterday's movie. But it's an interesting kind of link because what I find is the kind of game that gives you an everyman kind of protagonist or hero is actually quite a good one in my mind because the Duke Nukems and the all of those kind of you know, with BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein. They're all very unbelievable characters, and I think there's nothing more that switches an intelligent gamer off than an unbelievable character. So, you know, Isaac was actually quite vulnerable. While he was able to withstand and weather quite a hell of a storm, he was still human, and it was, you know, there was a lot of basically his frailty always coming through the game. Now, again, you know, it's quite interesting when you look at how a lot of games nowadays, they maybe do not get part of this wrong. They get the you know, it's all a mix, and I think you can have great levels, you can have great mechanics, but if your main protagonist is just a really unlikable person, then your game is going to go really badly. And I think it's worth bearing that in mind, because a lot of the time, some of the main protagonists of games are just horrible assholes who, quite frankly, you just want to literally run them into the edge of a table and hoping that their balls get caught on it. And I'm thinking 50 Cent Blood on the Sand here. If you've never heard or seen that game, my God, you are lucky. Anyways, as it stands, I think, you know, this has kind of all gone a bit south. And as you can see, our poor, you know, protagonist has hit the ground pretty hard. And I'm sure he's got a bit of a sprained ankle and stuff. Anyway, so I will shut up in a moment and you'll be able to see the cutscene. It's an interesting way to start the video, I must admit. I mean, the game, they really pushed it quite hard in terms of story mixing with content, and I do quite like that. So here we go. So it's all looking a bit bad. What on earth was he fighting for if they're all dead already? So this isn't looking terribly good. Right, I will now shut up.
Every one of them. General Mahad, sir. Where's Dr. Serrano?
Earl Serrano, always the optimist.
Well, he said I should take this into the city. He said there's still time to stop it, sir. There's still time.
We lost control! And now, for the love of Earth and the sovereign colonies, we've got to do what's right. You love the Earth, son. Your mom and dad.
Yeah, yes, sir, of course.
Good. Glad to hear that.
So how about that for a plot twist then? See, that's pretty cool. I like that. I always thought that, you know, you start the game, that was going to be somebody you play for a bit, and then lo and behold, he's dead. It's pretty cool. I think there's some really kind of cool tricks, and, you know, a lot of the time games can be quite formulaic, and I think this, already just playing, you know, I've played a few hours of this now, and the whole, the formula of what usually you get with these stories is actually being tested somewhat, and that's nice to see. So let's talk about, I mean, the original Dead Space, obviously, as I've said, it was set on a single ship, and there was something quite terrifying about that, because the whole ship literally was gone. And you did feel the immensity of this kind of city-sized ship as you fought your way through it. And the good thing about it is that each level was kind of in a different part of the ship, so medical, engineering, even the engine bay, the bridge, etc. And there was something quite cool about that I think, again, we've not really seen repeated. Certainly I think the Dead Space 2 and obviously now 3, but Dead Space 2 particularly was set on a station on, I think, Titan. And they never really did that quite right. But here we go, another cutscene. I shall shut my gob as you see this one. And this kind of sets the scene for the whole thing moving forward.
You Isaac Clarke?
Get the fuck off.
Answer me! Tim? Who the hell are you?
Lift him up. Up! I don't have a lot of time, so I want to make this brief. I understand you're something of an expert on markers. You created one.
I didn't make shit. Your government made me.
And you destroyed two, which is why we're here. We got a job for you.
No. No! I'm done with that. You find somebody else for your suicide mission.
We did. Before we lost contact with her. She told us to find you.
Elliot.
Where is she? What'd you do to her? Where is she?
Unitologists have breached the inner concourse. We can't hold them.
Captain, run out of time. Gotta go.
She's out there all alone, Isaac, and I can't help her unless you help me.
Okay. Okay. Here. Let's get moving.
So there we go. His love interest who saves him at the end of Dead Space 2. Yeah, she's obviously part of this as well. But anyway, let's not spoil the story too much. I think it's an interesting thing because I think certainly Dead Space 1 and 2, I think, did set a bit of a kind of precedent for, I think, the way that these kind of games work. So you can see there's obviously a lot of it. The way the interface worked, for example, was really nice and slick. So you can see Isaac on his back. He's got obviously his health meter and the stasis icon. And that was quite revolutionary for the time because usually I think a lot of people were used to the HUD, the head-up display, and I think it never quite worked having a head-up display in a third-person shooter. And I think certainly what they did with Dead Space was nice by putting all of the stats, if you like, on the actual model. So you can see obviously his health, etc. And as you aim the gun, you also see your ammo count there as well. Also, all of the cutscenes and all of the stuff was really well kind of integrated into the game. So you could see an audio log would pop up, and you would then have the ability just to display the audio log from a projector on your chest. I know it sounds so stupid, but it was really at the time very revolutionary. Another thing they did very well, which again I would say is probably central to the storytelling. I mean, all of these things is just telling a basic story, and it's surprising how few games companies really bother building much of a story in anymore. And I know sort of sandboxes, they kind of reduce the requirement for a story, but I think there's something quite kind of sad in the fact that a lot of the time the story is generally the last thing they look at. They'll produce maybe a kind of piss-ass, half-ass story, and that usually can be enough, and they'll kind of stick with it. And I think that's always a shame in a way. Anyway, so that's just worth considering, because one of the things that Dead Space did very well, and it obviously did through all three of them, is it included audio video logs. So if you've ever played things like System Shock 2, or I mean even Bioshock's a good example here, there was a massive, rich, kind of deeper world happening around you that you never really obviously saw or interacted with. So, in Dead Space 1 particularly, this was done through all of the personal logs of the crew. So you would actually find out, what was going on with this crew and how their descent into madness and death was pretty much happening. And it was really well done. Great acting, simple, I think, dialogue. It wasn't like 20 words to say one. It was really well crafted words. And I think, to be honest, a lot of the backstory was fueled by this much bigger thing, because in essence, I think about it from that point of view, there's only one person on this ship. In number one, there's literally one person alive on that ship. Well, there's more, but in essence, the theory is there's one. And if you just had a whole game where you never heard from the crew, that would actually have failed the game utterly. So I think it was actually quite an important decision that they included, and I'm kind of glad they did. So I think by having just really good set of audio logs and text logs, etc., and also I think just really kind of cleverly set up, discussion or kind of Easter eggs, if you like, really was a good thing they did. And I saw this done well in Warhammer 40k Space Marine as well, because all the way through that, it's obviously and we are going to play that game because it's one of my favourites. The thing they did really well was they included the story of a group of people who you never even meet or see, and yet it's about their escape from this kind of doomed planet. And it's just good stuff. It's really, it kind of shows another level of writing. And I think, as games become kind of more and more up the food chain, they seem to be getting better and better.
Why are these fanatics after me?
You've destroyed markers in the past, Isaac. That makes you a direct threat to their plan.
Plan?
Some end-time prophecy based on the markers.
Conversions?
Yeah, Ellie thinks you could stop it.
So now she's missing and they followed you here?
Yes, now get to the roof of the Dredger Corp building. There's an extraction team waiting.
So there we go. So a little bit more of the story. That's really good. I mean, again, the story is developing quite nicely. I was quite impressed to see how attentive they've been to that. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Just talking about the story, I think you're finding it certainly seems to appear that a lot of the story writing in games now is being done by the same people who used to write screenplays for films. And I think GTA 5 has been a great example of this, because the story and the dialogue, and I think certainly the voice acting, was of standard set to Hollywood that was never there really before. And I think certainly in the last few years, you've seen games get better and better and look less cheesy. I mean, some of the dialogue from way back, some of the old games I used to play, the dialogue was just awful, and yet it was just like something out of a something out of a really bad 70s movie. Whereas now, I think you're seeing that, you know, the talent that was once set for Hollywood is kind of coming into gaming, and that's really positive for gaming, because you're starting to get proper, interesting, immersive stories where before you didn't really have that. I mean, I'll give you an example, Quake 2. Quake 2 was a game that I thought was an excellent game, but it failed in a way because it didn't seem to have enough of the environment of what was going on. So we've talked a lot about, obviously, you know, the environmental conditions of something happening. So in this, it's whole planet, you know, the whole moon is literally being invaded. There's a big problem, lots of stuff going down, and you do get that sense that this is the end of days in this game. And I think you got that with Half-Life, you got that with Left 4 Dead, and I think this is the skill, and I think what most games now need is that kind of the feeling of the world, the bigger world around you, or the macro environment, what's going on above and around me, that I think so often now games get wrong. And Quake 2 was a great example where everything was right, everything was there, except this feeling that actually something big was happening, which was an invasion of an alien planet. And they got that utterly wrong, because it did feel like, you know, you'd been dropped in the middle of a map and you were just there on your own running stuff. And it was really failed and not very well done. I know they tried to recover it with a Quake 4, but the less said about that game, the better. So here we go. We're kind of progressing now, I think, as it gets a bit further. And, you know, obviously everything's going a bit, well, it's not going well. And you can see here, this is even better. So I'm just going to shut up again, and this develops the story even more. So enjoy.
Brothers and sisters, the age of man is at an end. We have become too many with too little to go around. Corporations that we once trusted with our money have squandered it. The governments that we once trusted with our future sabotaged it. For their eternal credit, we are dying. Fear not. There is a future. As promised by the prophet Michael Auckland, the Black Marker has a plan for all of you. It will lift us up from our miserable existence, and we will become one.
So there we go. Obviously, this is the the Church of Alien, let's call them, and they're pretty much kind of predicting the end of days. They've taken down the Earth government. A coup is happening, a military coup is happening, but it's worse than that, because obviously what they're doing is kind of pushing humanity to the brink by embracing the beacon technology, and sadly that's obviously what the whole game is about. This kind of, you know, the unitologists, I think they call them, that they are pretty much hell-bent on becoming one with this alien tech. And sadly what they don't quite realize is that, you know, it kills you, which is, there we go. Now again, here we go, another cutscene. Now I will shut up with this one because this is quite important.
Take them out! This one's still alive. Bring him here. Isaac Clarke. Just the man I was looking for. Oh, don't waste your energy. You're going to be dead in a matter of minutes. Pick him up. There's something I'd like you to see. There. You see that? It's a marker test lab. They're everywhere at all the major colonies and outposts.
What do you want from me?
As part of the marker test program, Isaac, you helped make them. And today, you of all people get to watch me set them free.
No, no, You'll kill everyone.
Death is only the beginning, Isaac. Nature must take its course, and I can't allow you or anyone else to stop that. Eyes forward, Isaac. Pay attention. And now it's time for you to join the cycle of rebirth.
So there we go. So basically, these assholes have actually produced the beacons, reproduced the beacons in all the major colonies of of humankind. I mean, my God, are they that stupid? Well, the answer is yes. So here we go. So all of that intro, I know it's been a bit bitty, but all of that intro has led to this point, which is where the game pretty much now is underway. And lo and behold, we have our old friends back. The necromorphs, and this is again the beauty of the game. I think there's a lot of very nice visuals, and I think also some of the things, the celebrated mechanics of the game have also been worth discussion as well. So obviously they've had 0G, they've had also just a few kind of almost, I don't want to say rail shooter, but more in the original game you actually would take control of the ship's turrets to shoot down asteroids and so on, and I think they've already done quite a good job on certainly making the game a bit more, interesting. I think also these necromorphs are actually quite fun to fight in a weird way, because they would actually kind of sprawl. If you've ever seen the movie The Thing, and I mean the original one, then this is very reminiscent of that. It's amazing how many games are influenced by movies, but what's interesting is now how many movies are maybe influenced by games. So I think as it stands, Dead Space 3 is well worthy of, I think, a bit more playthrough, and I think as we kind of come to conclude this first video, I think I wanted to show this one because I think for my own kind of interest, I'm always interested with certain stories where they go. So I think certainly with Dead Space, I'm curious to see how this ends. So this is going to be sort of a bit of a thing for me. But I think also it's just to kind of show you maybe some good games. If you've never played this before, I think I'd heartily recommend you have a look at it. I think it's one of those games that, again, I would stress is worth it. If you see it on maybe sale or if you see it on offer, it is definitely worth looking at. It's a conveyed experience though, so obviously you're playing a very much I guess it is a rail shooter in a way, because but I think, is that a bad thing? No. Is it going to be enjoyable? Most definitely. And I think you'll probably find that it's quite a a challenging but fun game as well. Plus, let's face it, this genre is pretty starved of games. Horror, sci-fi, survival style games are few and far between, so I think certainly get in while you can, and I think you'll be quite pleased. I think Dead Space 3, the one I'm playing at the moment, is still relatively expensive, so I think just have a look around for the offer. But if you've never played any of them before, you should be able to buy Dead Space 1 for probably less than £2, and I think, or like $3-4. And I think Dead Space 2 is probably going to be about the $10 mark, £10 mark, $15 mark. So I think if you have a spare sort of few quid and you have a weekend spare, I think you could probably do, you could play one game a weekend and enjoy it. And I think you'd probably quite find it fun. I think for myself, I think I'm going to probably play this quite a bit more. I think it's always interesting because, I never really have enough time to play everything. But I think for this one particularly, I'm actually going to set some time aside and play it. It can be quite a frustrating game as well when you realize your heart's beating quite fast and it's quite scary, because the reality is that sometimes you do get immersed, and any game that immerses me, I'm going to have real fun playing. So I'm really quite chuffed with that. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll write a quick article on this. If you're interested, please go and check out the forum. The website, it's SquadB.com. And so there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to day 4 tomorrow.